with stress, we'll see that the behaviors that we tend to produce are not the most positive that we want to have. Stress can lead us to engage in unhealthy practices. So distorted thinking, anxiety and depression, social withdrawal. When you're stressed, you want to be by yourself. You want to manage it all by yourself. And that leads to isolation. Poor food choices, which is a major thing. That's where the physical impact comes in. And then stress eating, substance use, and even substance abuse, poor sleep, and the key thing, inactivity. So stress is desserts just spelled backwards. So those two go hand in hand. We tend to feed off of the desserts, but these behaviors create a pathway to poor health and a poor body, poor immune system. And that's what we're aimed at today, to try to help us to manage the stress in a good way and to divert us away from these physical things that can happen when we are stressed. So our mind-body connection.
What we have come to understand during this presentation is that there is a direct mind and body connection. We encounter a situation, mind perceives this stimuli as a stress, then like an on switch, the stress response is turned on, which leads to a domino effect of physical changes in our bodies. And as we have already learned from our discussion thus far, the impact of stress on our bodies is very real and can be damaging over time if it persists unmanaged. So it becomes even more important to learn how to manage stress in the mind first to prevent the downstream effects on our bodies. And so here are 8 keys that can help us put stress to rest. First, movement. It is in all caps because it is one of the most potent ways to manage stress effectively. The effects of exercise on our mood rival and even surpass the impact or the effect of antidepressants and anxiety medications. And it's free. So movement is an actual medicine. I love this quote on exercise by Dr. Robert Butler. He's the former director of the National Institute of Aging, because it sums it up the best. It says, if exercise could be packed into a pill, it would be the single most widely prescribed and beneficial medicine in the nation. So back to our keys, our 8 keys. Then we have mindfulness techniques like deep breathing, yoga, stretching, meditation, and prayer, which are all techniques that actually bring us to the present moment. And as Pops tells us, don't worry about tomorrow. Tomorrow will worry about itself. Each day has enough trouble of its own. So focus on the now, because that's something you can control.
Now, number 3 is mark the mind, or what I like to implement is journaling. Now, journaling is a great way where we can take all our thoughts, our emotions, just everything that's been running around in our mind all day and put it down on paper. Some of the time it'll be you put down 2 sentences. Most of the time it'll be that you put down huge paragraphs. But the key thing when you're journaling is to, yes, put down all the day's events, put down all your stressors, but take time to give some thanks, take time to put some gratitude in there, which we'll stress on a little bit more as well. But embracing and empowering yourself with good things that you may have done throughout the day is another way that you combat stress in your life. So put it down on paper, but always embrace and hug yourself with some gratitude at the end of that journaling throughout that day.
And we have me messages, or messages of affirmation and encouragement to yourself. My mother always tells me that you don't wait for anyone to encourage or affirm you. And my friend and colleague in this presentation today, Alvona White, is the manifestation of this, and she inspires me. So you encourage and affirm yourself. You build yourself up. You tell yourself you're doing a good job, that you are capable. And that helps to reprogram how you think, because you're giving yourself that positive feedback. Then we have Mind Makeover, which is really re-engineering our thoughts. So when we are stressed, we can get into very distorted thinking patterns, like catastrophizing, which is to really essentially exaggerate a situation to the worst possible case scenario, or focusing on all the bad and not identifying the positive that may be in a situation, or having black or white thinking where it's either or and there's no nuance or gray area. And these thought patterns are actually directly linked to anxiety and depression, which is why one of the most effective treatments for anxiety and depression is something called CBT, or cognitive behavioral therapy, which actually targets this type of thought pattern very specifically to re-engineer how we think. And so we can re-engineer our thoughts by first noticing them and paying attention to what we are saying to ourselves, especially negative self-talk, and then checking them with evidence to focus on what is really true. Is it true that I'm really the worst person in the world? Is that actually true? And not just a thought. And we can de-escalate stress when we begin to think of the worst scenario by thinking of other possible and realistic scenarios that could also happen instead of just one worst case scenario. And this was actually something I learned for Dr. Zafon Lister in medical school. He actually explained this concept of thinking of all the possible strategies in that situation so you don't focus on the worst one. Then we have magnifying thankfulness, which Dr. Frank was mentioning, practicing gratitude. Studies show incredible benefits to practicing gratitude on a daily basis, and it's a practice. So just like anything that's a practice, we actually learn how to do it better over time. And practicing gratitude has the ability to change our perspective from one of deficit to one of benefit.
Mother Nature. So one of the ways that you can actually practice gratitude, and one way that you definitely put things into perspective, is getting out into nature. One of the naturopathic principles is actually the healing power of nature. And what that entails is not only, botanical herbs and nutrients, it is also the way the body has an innate ability, the way we're created to heal and to grow and to regenerate. So getting out into nature, doing a little bit of grounding, which essentially is just get outside, take off your shoes, get into some grass, go to the beach, get outside into nature and just feel, the earth below you. Observe the ants. Look at the ants, it says. Just look at the creatures around you. When you go to the beach, feel that ocean breeze, that warmth. All of these things contain various ions. It contains various nutrients, and of course, sodium chloride, salt, and all these different things that help to calm our nervous systems, bring us back down to just stability and what we call homeostasis, just a stable equalness in our body. So doing our best to get out into nature, look at the stars, count them if you can. I'm sure you won't be able to, but these are great ways that you'll be able to bring things into perspective, realize how sometimes tiny we are, but yet we feel that we're the biggest thing, or the biggest thing in our life is impacting us the greatest, but it really puts things into perspective.
Lastly, music has a powerful effect on us as humans, and we can use it to our advantage. One idea is to create a playlist of all your favorite songs and play it when you're feeling down to shift your mood to a more positive one. And so the list that we've provided to you are all really easy techniques to put in place, but the literature really supports that these types of techniques make a difference in how we are able to live and the kind of joy and the kind of just positive experience that we can have in our lives. And it's something that we can just start with one step. It's just one step that's necessary to kind of move forward.